Here's what nobody tells you about growing your own food. Most of the advice out there is designed for patience you don't have, land you don't own, and a climate that cooperates when it feels like it. You've been told to plant fruit trees. Build a food forest, they say. Put in the work now and eat later. But what they mean by later is 5 to 10 years from now. If a late frost doesn't erase the entire harvest first, that's a long time to wait. And in a world where grocery prices keep climbing, supply chains keep breaking, and energy costs make everything more expensive, waiting a decade for your first real harvest is not a strategy. It's wishful thinking. What if I told you there's a category of plants that most gardeners completely overlook? Bushes that can start feeding you in year 1 or 2, survive conditions that kill fruit trees outright, and produce thousands of calories per year with almost zero maintenance. Today we're going through 9 specific perennial bushes, varieties I've researched, tested, and grow myself, that offer the highest return on your time, money, and soil. Not just in fruit, but in calories, nutrition, resilience, and long-term self-reliance. Let's get into it. Number 1, the hazelnut bush. And I want to be specific here, not a hazelnut tree, but the bush form, specifically American hazelnuts or hybrid varieties. This distinction matters because the bush form grows faster, stays manageable, and in the right genetics can survive temperatures that would kill almost anything else in your garden, while everyone chases almonds or walnuts. Crops that take 12 to 15 years to hit full production. The hazelnut bush is already dropping nuts by year 3 or 4. That's not a minor difference, that's a decade of your life. Now let's talk about why this plant is nutritionally in a different category. A single pound of hazelnuts contains roughly 2,800 calories. That's more energy than most adults need in an entire day. Compare that to a pound of apples, about 240 calories. You're looking at more than 10 times the caloric density. In any scenario where you're depending on your garden for real sustenance, you don't fail from a lack of vitamins. You fail from a lack of fat and calories. The hazelnut solves that problem in a way that no berry, no fruit, and no vegetable can match. And here's the resilience factor. Specific hybrid hazelnut varieties can survive temperatures as low as -40 to -50 degrees Celsius. While apple trees are cracking, these are just dormant, storing energy for spring. They're wind-pollinated, which means no bees required. Plant them as a windbreak and they'll stop the wind and drop protein. That's efficient land use. A mature hazelnut bush can produce 10 to 25 pounds of nuts per year and remains productive for 30 years or more. Over its lifespan, a single well-placed bush can yield close to 750 pounds of high-calorie food. The nuts store at room temperature for a year. No freezer, no electricity, just food waiting for you. Number 2, the Nanking cherry. This is not a cherry tree. It's a bush cherry from Asia. It behaves completely differently from anything you've grown before. While a standard cherry tree might sit for 5 years, this gives you fruit in year 1. The cherries are tart sweet with a depth of flavor that commercial varieties can't touch. The reason you've never seen these in a grocery store is they're too soft to survive shipping. That's actually your advantage. The only way to eat these is to grow them. You will have access to a fruit that money cannot buy. Once established, the Nanking cherry is extraordinarily drought tolerant. It thrives in the harsh, dry winds of the prairies where stone fruits fail. It doesn't need grafting. It grows true from seed, which means you can plant the pits from your own harvest and have genetically identical plants. That's self-sufficiency at the plant level. One mature Nanking cherry bush can yield 10 to 20 pounds of cherries annually. They ripen all at once, which is actually ideal if you're processing. You pick once, process once, move on. The math wins. Number 3, the Goumi berry. One of the most underrated plants in permaculture. The reason it belongs on this list isn't just the fruit, it's what it does to everything around it. The Goumi is a nitrogen fixer. While most plants extract nitrogen from your soil, the Goumi pulls nitrogen from the air and deposits it into the ground. It is literally fertilizing your garden as it grows. Plant it next to tomatoes, squash, or any heavy nitrogen feeder, and watch those plants thrive. You're building infrastructure that makes your entire garden more productive. The berries themselves are unique, bright red with silver flecks. They taste like a complex combination of tart cherry and rhubarb. They fruit early in summer, filling what permaculturists call the hungry gap, the period between spring and peak summer when fresh fruit is scarce. The Goumi fills that gap while simultaneously enriching your soil. A mature bush produces 8 to 15 pounds of berries per year and contains lycopene concentrations exceeding tomatoes. You eat the fruit and bank the fertility. Number 4 is mandatory if you live anywhere with serious winters. The honeyberry, also called Haskap. This is the first fruit you will eat each season, sometimes while there's still frost on the ground. The flowers can survive temperatures down to -7 degrees Celsius without losing the crop. Think about that. A frost event that wipes out your entire apple or cherry blossom. Honeyberries don't even flinch. These plants evolved in the boreal forests. Cold is their native language. The antioxidant content is 3 times that of blueberries. The skin is so thin it melts in your mouth, which is why you'll never find them in stores. They cannot survive shipping. Some documented bushes in Siberia are over 50 years old and still fruiting heavily. Plant one correctly and you never replace it. New cultivars produce 7 pounds per bush within 2 years. Number 5 plays defense and offense at the same time. The Rosa rugosa, the Rugosa rose. Not the fragile garden rose that needs weekly spraying. This forms a dense wall of thorns that stops deer, dogs, and unwanted visitors. It's a living security fence. The real asset is what comes after the flowers. Rose hips are among the most concentrated natural sources of vitamin C on Earth. Compare it to oranges. A small handful contains as much vitamin C as an entire bag of oranges. In any scenario where supply chains are disrupted, this is your insurance policy. The hips actually improve after the first frost. Cold converts starches to sugars, making them sweeter and easier to process into teas, syrups, and jams. The flowers are edible in salads. The seeds contain vitamin E. This plant provides security, nutrition, and medicine, and it asks almost nothing in return. Number 6 powered entire civilizations and has been almost completely forgotten. The serviceberry, also called Saskatoon or Juneberry. This North American native was a core ingredient in pemmican, one of the most calorie-dense survival foods ever devised. Indigenous peoples and fur traders mixed dried meat, rendered fat, and dried serviceberries into cakes that could last years without refrigeration. The fruit looks like a blueberry but is related to apples. The small seeds become slightly nutty when cooked, adding complexity. This is serious calorie food. A well-established bush can produce 30 pounds per year. Because they ripen gradually, you get an extended harvest window. Dried serviceberries have a shelf life measured in years. Sugar content hits 25%. Ideal for energy-dense cakes, they're remarkably disease-resistant and improve wildlife habitat on your land. Number 7 belongs in a different category. The goji berry, also called wolfberry. Most fruit is essentially sugar and water. Goji berries are a complete protein source. That's nearly unheard of. They contain all 9 essential amino acids. The berries are best eaten dried, raisins that store indefinitely at room temperature. No freezer, no canning. Just harvest, dry in the sun, store. That simplicity is significant. In a self-sufficient system, less infrastructure means more resilience. Be aware, goji is vigorous. Manage them like any vigorous shrub. They thrive on drought, heat, and poor sandy soil. They reward benign neglect. A mature bush yields 10 pounds fresh. Dried berries contain 13% protein and significant B vitamins, nutrients often absent in plant-based diets. Number 8 didn't exist 50 years ago. The jostaberry is a result of breeding black currants with 2 types of gooseberry. Massive productivity, no thorns, and disease resistance. They succeeded. You can fill a bucket faster than almost any other berry. It's immune to white pine blister rust and has one of the longest photosynthetic seasons. A mature plant produces 15 pounds annually for 20 years or more. Flavor starts tart and ripens to deep berry complexity, exceptionally high in vitamin C. Because it's unknown in North America, there are almost no pests. You get European productivity with 0 pest pressure. This is your high-volume workhorse. Number 9 is the heavyweight of calorie density, the Chicago hardy fig, capable of surviving brutal winters by resetting from the roots. In a brutal winter, the wood dies, but the root survives and pushes vigorous new shoots in spring. It sets fruit on new wood and ripens before frost. Dried figs hit 249 calories per 100 grams, more than triple fresh. One bush can produce over 100 figs, no second plant or pollinator required. Figs fed Roman legions across 3 continents. They dried them, marched with them, survived on them. That calorie density is available to you now. It requires almost no spraying because it has no significant pest pressure. Add calcium, potassium, and iron to your nutritional profile. A complete system. That's 9 plants, each one chosen to produce fast, survive real conditions, and build long-term food security without demanding perfect soil. You don't need acres. You don't need a tractor. You don't need a decade of patience. You need the right plants in the right places. Start before you're ready. Because every year you wait is another year your future self doesn't eat. If any of these were new to you, drop it in the comments. Subscribe for more. I put out practical, research-backed content every week. No fluff, no filler, just what works. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.